The journey from Ethiopia to Saudi Arabia is one of the most dangerous migration routes in the world, driven by economic desperation, political instability, and the allure of better opportunities. Despite the risks, thousands of migrants attempt this treacherous journey each year, often paying a devastating price. Ethiopia faces a myriad of challenges that push its citizens to migrate. Persistent poverty, unemployment, and lack of economic opportunities are major driving factors. Many rural Ethiopians, especially young people, struggle to survive on subsistence farming, which is increasingly threatened by climate change. Frequent droughts, erratic rainfall, and land degradation leave families destitute, forcing many to seek better livelihoods abroad. Political instability and ethnic conflicts also play a significant role. Violence in regions like Tigray has displaced millions, with many seeking refuge beyond Ethiopia's borders. The perception of Saudi Arabia as a land of opportunity, bolstered by stories of successful migrants, further motivates individuals to risk the journey, despite the harsh realities awaiting them. The primary migration route spans from Ethiopia through Djibouti or Somalia, across the Gulf of Aden, and into Yemen before reaching Saudi Arabia. The route is divided into two key stages. First is the overland journey. Migrants travel from their villages to coastal towns in Djibouti or Somalia. They often walk for days through arid landscapes, facing dehydration, hunger, and attacks by armed groups or bandits. Secondly, the sea crossing. From the shores of the Gulf of Aden, migrants board overcrowded and poorly maintained boats operated by smugglers. The sea journey is perilous, with many vessels capsizing or being abandoned mid-voyage. Once in Yemen, migrants must navigate a war-torn country. They often endure abuse, extortion, and exploitation by human traffickers and local militias. Those who survive are smuggled into Saudi Arabia, where they frequently face arrest, deportation, or forced labor. The risks along this route are numerous and severe. There are many physical dangers. Extreme heat, lack of food and water, and grueling terrain make the journey physically exhausting. Many migrants collapse or perish from dehydration and exhaustion. There is also abuse by smugglers. Smugglers often deceive migrants with false promises, then subject them to brutal treatment. Reports of beatings, rape, and extortion are widespread. Then the dangers at sea. The Gulf of Aden crossing is fraught with dangers, including overcrowded boats that capsize, strong currents, and the risk of drowning. Smugglers often abandon migrants in the open sea. There is conflict in Yemen. Migrants passing through Yemen face violence from warring factions, arbitrary detention, and forced recruitment by armed groups. Women and girls are particularly vulnerable to sexual exploitation. Finally, the exploitation in Saudi Arabia. Those who make it to Saudi Arabia often find themselves in exploitative labor conditions, working long hours for minimal pay. Many face abuse from employers or deportation if caught. The exact number of deaths along this migration route is difficult to ascertain due to the clandestine nature of the journey. However, international organizations estimate that thousands of migrants perish annually. In recent years, mass graves and scattered human remains have been discovered in Yemen, stark evidence of the route's deadly toll. For example, the International Organization for Migration, IOM, reported that at least 190 migrants drowned in the Gulf of Aden in 2021 alone. The true death toll is likely higher, as many deaths go unreported. Despite its growing scale, this migration crisis remains one of the most overlooked. Limited media coverage and inadequate international response mean that the suffering of these migrants often goes unnoticed. Humanitarian agencies, overwhelmed by other global crises, struggle to provide adequate support to those affected. The Ethiopia-Saudi Arabia migration route exemplifies the desperate measures people take in search of better lives. Addressing this crisis requires a multifaceted approach, improving economic opportunities in Ethiopia, providing safe migration pathways, and holding smugglers and exploitative employers accountable. Without these measures, the cycle of suffering will continue, leaving more lonely graves and scattered bones along this perilous route.